I'd like to help Cowboys Nation think straight here. I think it was Stephen A. Smith the other day that, without mentioning race, played the race card in suggesting that, well, Jerry always took care of Tony. Why doesn't he take care of Dak? Mike Fisher reporting from Frisco in the Fishbowl, right down the street, of course, from Cowboys headquarters at the Star. Man, just go ahead and say it. Just say it. If you are insinuating, if you are suggesting that the Cowboys pay the Caucasian guys but don't pay the non-Caucasian guys, just say it, I guess, except for this problem. I've thought this for a long time. Murder, by the way, this is sensitive. This isn't necessarily for the children. Murder, you're a murderer. You're a rapist or an abuser, or whatever. And you're a racist. All three of those things, obviously, are horrific in so many ways. But the labels are also horrific. So when in this country we find somebody guilty of murder, man, we better be right. We're not only talking, obviously, about a prison sentence or a death sentence or whatever. We're talking about this label that never goes away. When we call somebody, label somebody as an abuser, rapist, sexual abuser, sexual predator, woman beater, whatever. We better be right. Because it never goes away. This was the real crime committed in the Ezekiel Elliott case with the NFL. There was no legal evidence that Ezekiel Elliott was guilty of any of those accusations pertaining to domestic violence. There was no legal evidence. But the NFL found him guilty and suspended him 6 games in a sort of kangaroo court in which other players who admitted being guilty of similar alleged crimes got 0 suspensions and 1-game suspensions. Others got 10-game suspensions. Never made any sense for the NFL to set itself up as judge, jury, and executioner. Commissioner Roger Goodell, who is very good at what he's very good at, is not a lawyer. Now, many guys in his position are. Many guys in his position, or positions like that, have law degrees. He's not a lawyer. He's not a judge. He's not a cop. He has no experience and no particular skills in those areas. Yet, his office decided to label Ezekiel Elliott for the rest of his life, basically, a woman abuser. Never go away. Racist, again, I'm not trying to say that all these behaviors are the same, but in the sense that they stick, in the sense that the labels stick. We should be slow to call people a racist. We should try to not only measure their words, we should try to measure as much as possible their actions and what's in their hearts. By the way, this is not a defense of racism, obviously. This is a defense of rational logic. to accuse the Cowboys of racism is a great way to get yourself in the headlines. And if you have proof, bring it. A long time ago, I think it was the Fort Worth chapter of the NAACP, I did an interview with them for the newspaper, and they were going to bring big charges against the Cowboys because they didn't have any vice presidents who were African American. And I said, that's fine. I said, of course, they only have one vice president, yeah? And he's the owner's son. I mean, what do you... Believe me, if Jerry's son was black, Jerry's son would be the vice president of the Cowboys. So let's make some sense of why the Cowboys and Dak Prescott haven't gotten married yet. Something that they're working on with the Tuesday deadline, of course. Isn't it simply possible that they like each other but don't love each other? That, as I mentioned over the course of the weekend, that they're not ride and die with each other. The Dallas Cowboys did not make a mistake in being ride and die with Troy Aikman. They may have made a mistake with Tony Romo, and we'll see if they make a mistake in their judgment with Dak Prescott, depending on what their judgment is. But to just say, well, they always paid Troy. Different time, different place. Not just different skin color. But they certainly may have thought that Troy was better than Dak. And that's okay. Well, they always paid Tony, and they did. But maybe they thought Tony was better. Anytime you try to defend yourself against heinous accusations, it could become kind of a Alice in Wonderland down the rabbit hole. You find yourself starting to flail away at imagined accusers, and your denials sound like leave themselves open to yeah buts. It's the some of my best friends are. Okay, but and that's been turned into a joke. But what if some of your best friends are? Then what do you say? The Cowboys have a lot of problems. This isn't one of them. The Cowboys have had no problems paying a running back who happens to be African American or a wide receiver who happens to be African American. They made Tank Lawrence, who's a black man, one of the highest paid defensive ends in the history, defensive lineman in the history of sports, and that was the biggest Cowboy contract ever, right? Amari Cooper has one of the biggest contracts in the history of sports. Tyron Smith was paid the highest possible salary that a tackle had ever been paid at the time they did it, and on and on and on and on. This is not about that. Oh, and I'll say this, and I can say this because Jason Kidd and I used to joke around about it. If we're trying to say, well, the white people are over here and the black people over here, where does Jason Kidd stand? Since he's a child of parents and he's mixed race, as is Dak Prescott. What do we half like Jason Kidd? The beauty of sports when it works is that's not the way it works. It's not always a meritocracy. Good gosh, the NFL and the way coaches get hired and promoted, and front office people too. The nepotism is incredible. The buddy system is undeniable. The old boy network seems unbreakable. Those things are not fair. Those things are not fair. We are clearly picking assistant coaches who are friends of the head coach and who have been friends for a long time, who travel in the same circles, and oftentimes, if the guy in power is white, then the people he traveled in the circles with were white, and therefore those are his buddies, and that's who he's hired. That's unfortunate. The one place where we don't have to bow to that is on the field. Certainly not in the NFL or the NBA. It took us way too long to get there at the position of quarterback, frankly, but we're there. Dak Prescott is going to get $40 million APY, or he's not. He's going to get $37.7 million for 1 year, or he's going to get more. None of these things are insulting. None of these things are disrespectful. The disrespect, I think, comes in the part of people who are faraway observers sitting in a studio in Bristol, New York, Los Angeles, who don't know. They don't know the people who are involved, and they don't know the damage done when we level these sort of accusations. So let's try to balance what free speech really means. Free speech doesn't really mean everybody gets to just yell whatever they want into everybody's face, because that gets you punched in the nose, oftentimes deservedly. Let's think through this. Let's deal with this, the Dak versus Dallas thing, as passionate as we all are, with some level of calm and sense, and not incendiary accusations. Fish out.